Music, dance, theater. It's time to take a seat on the aisle with Tom Alvarez. Hear from performers, producers, presenters, and creators who enrich our lives in the performing arts. Who's on stage? Here is Tom Alvarez to introduce you.
Hello, and welcome to On the Aisle with yours truly, Tom Alvarez. My guest on today's episode is rock and roll singer-songwriter Kevin Steele, who is soon releasing his first solo album. Join me now as I go on the aisle in a conversation with Kevin.
Stay charm. Under your hips I fell. Stay charm. Release me from your spell. Well, I wish I could resist you, but I just can't help myself.
Hello there, Kevin. Thanks for taking the time to be on my podcast.
My pleasure.
Where are you calling me from? For our listeners, we're on a Zoom call, the miracle of Zoom, right?
Right. I'm in sunny St. Petersburg, Florida right now.
Yeah, and that's where you live and your band. I'm confused. Is it Tampa or St. Pete where your band lives or where you live?
We'll just call it the Tampa Bay area, which kind of includes Tampa and St. Petersburg. I've got band members who live in both cities.
Okay, like is there a big scene there? Music scene?
There used to be. Not so much anymore.
Okay.
It's still a cool place. There's some cool bands that come out of this area, actually.
Yeah, and why there? Why are you based there?
That's where I ended up as a kid. I had a pretty tough childhood. I don't know.
Oh yeah, we'll get into all that. I'm really looking forward to that. But go on. You were saying?
Well, I ended up living with my grandparents, and they were retirement age at the time, and moved down to Florida and took me and my brother with them.
Okay.
That's how I ended up in Florida.
And let's give a shout out to your brother Brett, and that's how I came to your attention, and vice versa. Your brother is also your manager. Is that correct?
It is. He's managed me since day one.
All the
way back to the 80s.
And how we know each other is another one of his clients, if you will, is Ann Hampton Calloway.
Oh, yeah.
Who is a friend of mine, and she's also been on this podcast several times. So that's how I came to know Brett. And I also had one of his other clients who you probably know, the Reverend. I'm
Reverend
blanking.
Peyton.
Reverend Peyton was on the show. So
Hell of a guitar player.
I'm sorry?
He's a hell of a guitar player.
Well, yeah, and I was looking at your materials, and you're a master of so many different genres and types of music, but now it's rock and roll, right?
Yeah, well, it's just because I outlived all I started when I was younger. I was very influenced by glam rock, 70s glam rock, like T-Rex and Mott the Hoople and the New York Dolls. But I knew right from the start, you only have a small window of opportunity. You got to do glam rock while you're still young and pretty,
Yeah. Did you do did you do like the spandex and the hair and the whole thing?
I got to some extent.
Silver boots and whatever.
Yeah, my stage clothes were more from vintage secondhand stores and flea markets and stuff. And I was influenced visually a lot by like the New York Dolls and their kind of boutique clothes,
Oh yeah, sure. The reason you're on the show is because you got an exciting release coming out. Tell me about it.
Yeah, February 27th. The album is dropping. It's my first solo album. It's called One Thing Left to Do. So I had to make no compromises with any other bandmates. I co-produced it with my guitar player Billy Summer, and I had no compromises to make with a producer. And I've worked with some pretty big name producers in the past. I worked with Bo Hill, Tommy Hendrix. I worked with Jack Douglas, who Jack Douglas has produced the New York Dolls, Aerosmith, Cheap Trick. He's the producer that was working with John Lennon when he was assassinated, and that's a double-edged sword because you're in the presence of a great producer like Jack Douglas. You can learn a lot from him, but on the other hand, if he comes up with some ideas that you don't necessarily care for, it's hard to say, oh, hey, Jack Douglas,
Yeah.
producer of John Lennon, I don't dig what you're saying here.
Yeah.
But no compromises this time. So it's a total reflection of where I'm at right now. It has nothing to do with my past bands. And it's, I think, probably my most favorite album that I've ever made.
And your past bands, you were the front man of Rock's Gang and the Mojo Gurus. And
That's right.
what were the time periods for those two bands?
Rock's Gang, like I said, was a glam rock band. And
Hmm.
and as I got older and my musical taste started to mature, and hopefully my songwriting too, um, I didn't want to be an old guy in a glam rock band. It's not
Yeah.
it's not very flattering.
Yeah.
And so my music started taking on a more blues influenced rock and roll when we turned into the Mojo Gurus. And I was getting into a lot of Delta and Chicago blues and rhythm and blues also, and it had a big influence on the Mojo Gurus. And now that I'm putting out a solo album, there's a little bit of everything that I've learned along the way.
Yeah, and you're working with a good friend of yours, your co-producer, the guitarist.
Billy Summer. If you would have asked me, Tom, not even a year ago, I probably would have said I was done with all this. I went through about 2 years back. They found a brain tumor. It was benign, thank God, but I had to have brain surgery. And afterwards, I was trying to rid my life of as much stress as I could. And rock and roll can be a pretty stressful lifestyle at times.
Mhm.
And I met Billy, and Billy's like 10 years younger than me. And it turns out that he was a big fan of Rock's Gang. When he was learning how to play guitar, Rock's Gang was a big influence on him. And he found out that I had all these, even though I hadn't performed in several years, I never stopped writing songs because I found it to be cheaper than therapy. and and when Billy found out I had these songs, he said, "Well, come on over to my place." He had a home studio, and everything just came together so quickly and naturally. And we had such a great partnership that two songs turned into five songs turned into 10. Next thing I knew, I had an album. And I had really had no plans of making an album. It just came together so organically that, and I was so pleased with the results that here we are.
Do you guys are known as the Cosmic Twins, I understand.
Yeah, it's like, you've probably seen twins, if either known twins or seen twins on television
Yeah.
that finish each other's sentences.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Billy and I kind of finished each other's musical thoughts. Like I would start to express an idea I had, and he would finish it. He knew where I was going before I even finished telling him.
Yes.
So that's why they call us the Cosmic Twins.
Well, there are a number of things that we're going to get into that I feel very connected to you because we've shared similar experiences. This is about you, but I want to insert that, I am an artist as well. I wear a lot of hats, and I'm a lyricist. I've written songs, and I have a collaborator of 10 years. We have a 30-year age difference. And when I met him, our personalities couldn't be, they're like night and day. But when we make art, it's like a spiritual exercise. And, a lot of times we fight like cats and dogs. But the guy, when we are making art, it's amazing. So it sounds like that's similar to what you've been into, right?
Yeah, luckily we don't have a lot of conflict, Billy and I. Now I have had conflict in the past. You go back to Rock's Gang, and it was a real love-hate relationship.
Artistic differences, I should call them, right?
Yeah, but me and Billy just seem to, despite our age difference, we just connected on a lot of levels and had a
And
lot of
what is that age difference again, did you say?
about
How,
10
what's,
years, about 10
okay.
years.
Well, that's not so bad. You have still kind of have the same frame of reference, right? With
Right.
history and stuff. Yeah, okay. But you just really click, huh? And that like really, well, it sounds like people come on into your onto your path when they're supposed to, right? Would you say that's correct here?
It certainly seems so this time.
Yeah, and you talked about you. Another thing we have in contact is your tumor. I lost two musician friends to brain tumors, so I'm quite familiar with the with that. And in both cases was very tragic because they were promising young. One was a big band musician, and the other one was a country western singer. And both of them, one of them I mentor, the country western singer. So I am so grateful that you're definitely a survivor.
I'm back 100%. I had it was crazy. While I was waiting for my surgery, a blood vessel broke in my head. I had a brain bleed,
Mm.
like a stroke. And my brain surgeon said it was totally unconnected to my tumor. So lucky me. But I went through a period of time that was pretty rough.
Wow. And how long was that period of like?
My recovery time wise, I was really lucky. I bounced back really quick, but there was a few months there from the time they found the tumor to then going through the brain bleed and then through this brain surgery where it was like my head was on fire for, you know what I mean? The brain bleed, when a blood vessel breaks in your head, the blood, as your,
Right.
as your body is absorbing that blood, it hits your brain and it's very painful.
Did your head swell as a result?
No, it did not.
No? Okay. And so where were you treated? Sounds like you had an excellent medical team.
I did. I was at Tampa General. I was shopping around for brain surgeons, and and I became aware through a friend of a gentleman named my doctor is Dr. Agazi, and he's from Italy. I'm half Italian myself, so we were paisans, and oh, he was the best. He was the best, and they got the whole tumor. A lot of times with brain tumors, they'd rather err on the side of sometimes they have to leave some of the tumor rather than taking too much, nicking a nerve or something. And
Hmm.
they were able to get the whole thing. I didn't have to have any radiation treatments. I've already been back, I think, 3 times for MRIs now, no regrowth. So,
So this condition is more common than people think, right?
oh, it's great. Since, I didn't never really pay that much attention to it being a wild rock and roll lead singer, but
Yeah.
since my brain tumor, I can't believe how many people I've become aware of that had
Yeah.
brain tumors.
Yeah. People like me and the two people that I knew. Yeah. And wow. So but okay, so that experience, I want to get into how that changed you, or maybe gave you a new perspective or whatever. But back to the work. On the intro, our listeners heard a bit of Snake Charmers. Tell us about that song and
Snake
what inspired it. Yeah.
Snake Charmer is a song about seduction and obsession, and it's a
Hmm.
story. it's a story that's as old as the original sin.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we got a sexy groove going through there. And there's a little side note. There's an actual Indian snake charmer. You hear him playing an actual Indian.
Yeah, I heard that instrument. It's very unique. Yeah. Very, and I wondered what that was. Well, of course, it makes sense. Yeah.
Friend of mine said it sounded like a no-see-um, which is an insect.
What inspired you to write that song?
Well, seduction and obsession are no strangers to a rock and roller's lifestyle.
All right. Okay, so a lot of your work based on your personal experience?
I would say most of it is.
Okay, so it's biographical, huh?
To some extent.
Okay, we're going to take a break and listen to another track, and
It's called There's a Better Day Coming. I'd like to make clear, some people at first listen think that it's a religious song, that I'm saying there's a better day coming, and I'm talking about, the hereafter, the heaven or whatever. But I'm not a particularly religious person, and I'm not singing about religion. I'm not talking about a better day coming. I'm not talking about the afterlife. I'm talking about hope.
Mhm.
Because I feel that everyone, no matter what your religion is, no matter what your politics are, no matter who you love, if you don't have a little bit of hope these days, it's hard to get out of bed and face this crazy world
No kidding.
right now without hope.
No kidding. Yeah.
That's what that's about.
Yeah. Let's take a minute and listen.
There's a better day coming right round the bend.
Well, I just, your music is definitely reminiscent of a lot of rock music that I heard over my lifetime, but you definitely have your own style and your voice. You got a very compelling voice.
Thank you.
Yeah, I like the tone, and you have that gravelly kind of thing going for you.
That's one of the nicer descriptions people have given for my voice.
What do others say? How do others describe it?
We won't,
Oh, okay.
Everybody's got their personal taste.
Oh, yeah, you're talking about the pejorative comments. Well, to each his own, right?
All right.
So tell me about who did you record this record with?
So the aforementioned Billy Summer in his studio, And then we pulled some of the best musicians that I knew in this Tampa Bay area. Um, I mean, I could say their names. Nobody's gonna. I had a good friend, Steve Peak, on keyboards, Stephen C. Tanner on drums. Uh, Billy played all the guitars on the album. Jim Stevens played bass. Billy also played bass. Um, I have a good friend, Adam Turkel, who did the album cover artwork. He's a local artist here down in this area, and he helped out with some backup vocals and some percussion. And it was a real, uh, like almost like a family type. I mean, it was all my friends all contributed to this album. It was very, what's the word? Serendipity, I guess. Serendipitous. It was people, everything just kind of fell into place like it was supposed to happen.
So it says on the release that the record was released via Steel Records. Would that be you and your brother? You have a company?
My brother has his own label now,
Okay. Wow.
and then it's distributed through Amplified, and so we got worldwide distribution. But it's a fairly new album. He's had the label I meant to say. It's
Yeah.
it's only been in existence for a couple of years now, but that's another great thing. I don't have to answer to any label people.
Yeah. And you've got your brother. You're working with your brother, so it's family. So that's an ideal situation. How do the two of you all get along?
Well, my brother and I have really been through it over the years. When my brother's 4 years younger than me, and when I was 8 years old, our mother was murdered.
Yes, I understand.
And so my brother and I have shared a lot of trauma growing up, but it's also created a super strong bond between us, you know.
Mhm.
And I talk to him every day, and he's like my best friend as well as my brother, you know.
Mhm. The two of you, always know that you were going to, work in the music business?
Well, I knew I knew since I was a little boy. I think I was about 6 years old, and the monkeys came on television.
Oh yeah.
Band the monkeys, and I remember seeing this particular episode where Davy Jones, the monkeys were in Paris, France, and Davy Jones was on the Eiffel Tower, and all these girls were chasing him. And when they caught him, they ripped off his shirt. And I was 6 years old, and I said, "That's what I want to do."
I love that.
And music has always had a very profound emotional effect on me.
Mhm.
About the time I was 6 or 7, I remember hearing the Beatles song Eleanor Rigby, and
Hmm.
and even at 6 or 7, you know, it almost made me want to cry, like, and music has always affected me emotionally, and I just fell in love with rock and roll, the music and the lifestyle. When I was a kid, I wanted to wear those clothes and have the long hair. And, I just wanted the whole rock and roll lifestyle. And lucky for me, it turned out I had a bit of talent or I don't know where I would have ended up.
Mhm. Did you actually train in music, or are you a natural talent?
I've never had a day of training in my life.
Hmm.
Hopefully, it doesn't show.
Yeah. So, if we may, your mother was murdered. That's I can't think of any worse trauma. And for that age, do you mind telling me the circumstances?
My father was a municipal judge in Cleveland, Ohio, and my one night, someone entered our house and shot my mother in her bed in her sleep. And my brother and I were sleeping upstairs. I woke up to a house full of policemen, and years went. So I was 8. By the time the murder went unsolved till I was 14 years old, and I was living in Florida now with my grandparents had custody of us. and the Cleveland police came down to Florida and said that they had arrested my father, Robert Steele, was behind the whole thing. To this day, I don't have a clear motive. He never admitted his guilt. He died in prison. He was convicted and he died in prison. And it's to this day, I don't have a clear motive for why it happened. But it was tough, you know. I not only lost my mother, but my father was not an abusive or a mean father. He was, to my knowledge,
Yes.
in my reality, in my life, I loved my father. So that made it even harder when I found out, his guilt. It made it equal.
Yeah, well, you always wonder when you hear, and there, as you probably heard stories as too, children of parents who were in this situation, and how you reconcile that in your mind. How it's impossible, isn't it, to reconcile?
It is.
And how do you stop loving someone that, I mean, it's so embedded in your soul, right? And yeah.
Well, that's how it was for. And then my father remarried very quickly, and
Mm.
the woman he married, she's dead now too. I don't want to talk that bad about the dead, but life got turned upside down for me and my brother. It was a very abusive situation. We
Mm.
were physically and mm, emotionally abused for several years until my grandparents came to our rescue and
I
got.
see. So it was the quintessential evil stepmother kind of
Yes.
situation.
Eh, eh,
Yeah. Did you and your brother get any help, professional therapy?
no, we didn't. But I'll tell you that this was another big motivation in my love for music.
Mm-hmm.
When I was a kid, music was a big escape from my horrible reality, you know. And I always, I don't know, it sounds corny or whatever, but a lot of my motivation was to provide. I hoped in some small way, to provide that same escape for some other kid that might be in a tough situation, as that music gave me.
Well, isn't that a remarkable statement about resiliency and the human spirit and how you could take that? But that's not uncommon with a lot of artists, is it? A lot of artists will tell you about abusive and trauma that they suffered, but they were able to not destroy themselves by using music or their art, to turn something that awful into something beautiful, and that's how they survive. And
Yes,
it's a remarkable thing about about humans, isn't it? About humanity.
it is that you can turn pain into something positive.
And like they say that a lot about about comedians, how they can, their humor comes through the pain that they suffered,
Yeah,
and they
yeah,
turn it in. That's how they survive. And same with all the Jews and the gays and the blacks who've gotten through terrible, awful things to create art. It's a remarkable thing, isn't it? In the end. And so this record is the record you always wanted to do. How does that feel as an artist? It must be just cathartic as hell.
it is, and it's great. It's such an uplifting feeling. It's such a release. It's I couldn't be happier.
Yeah.
It's my favorite album that I've ever been involved in throughout my career, and I couldn't be happier with it.
Yeah, tell me about your fan base. How would you describe your fans?
Oh, well, it runs the gamut. Uh, I've got fans that have been with us since my early days of Rocks Gang. Uh, we acquired a different kind of fans for the Mojo Gurus, and I'm hoping that both of them will follow me into this solo venture.
Are all ages, or do you have a specific age group,
Now,
or?
by this time, no, by this time, I still have, we still attract young fans, but
Yeah.
there's like, people have been following me since the late or mid to late 80s. And so some of us are getting a little gray.
Yeah, what do you think about all the and I mean, look at me, I'm 78 and I keep moving and I feel like, I feel like I'm at my peak actually. So I that's my mantra, keep moving,
You
and
look good.
thank you. No reason to sit in a chair. For me, I have to be creative, It's just like a bodily function, I have to do something creative every single day. How about you?
Got to keep moving, got to keep thinking, got to keep producing. Otherwise, if you don't, I mean, that's what keeps you young.
Yeah, of course, of course. And well, what do you think about like your contemporaries and even older, all the old rockers are still out there? What do you make of that?
I have kind of mixed feelings about it. I mean, on one hand, who am I to say, when I look at Mick Jagger, for instance,
Yeah,
and I think like, who am I to say give advice to Mick Jagger? you
sure,
know?
of course.
But on the other hand, I don't know, rock and roll. I told you, I thought I was done with this.
Sure.
And I do have feelings that, rock and roll is kind of a young man's game. And I look at some rockers, some guys who I worshiped as a teenager. And
Hmm.
sometimes I think like, oh my God, just stop.
Yeah.
You're a legend. You've got a legacy. Please
I
stop.
would remember you as you were, right?
Right, right.
Yeah, yeah. But at the same time, I'm conflicted by that myself. But, when I think of my own self, I'm wondering, do people ever say that about me? Okay, turn it over, pass the torch, time to bring in some new blood. But I think if you're still out there and you're turning out good work and you're still relevant, have something to say, why not? I don't know. I can't be objective about it, but your music, I listened to it and for me it made me feel young again. It took me back to the days when,
Love that. That makes me feel good.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. But it's also reminiscent of a lot of stuff being created by younger artists. Rock is rock. You got a guitarist like your co-producer. I mean, he really those riffs of him are just really great, you know? So you guys are
Billy,
doing a live release party on the 27th. Tell me about that for our listeners. Hopefully, people from all over the country are going to hear this. And they can, by the way, they can find this record on it'll be online, right? And tell people how they can hear this music.
well, you can buy it digitally any place they sell, the digital music is sold. Um, and it'll be in the stores, everywhere. Amazon, Target, wherever.
Yeah, and on the streaming platforms.
All the streaming platforms.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
released, so it's going to be released digitally. It's going to be released on CD, and there's a limited amount of vinyl being released. The record looks killer. It's on red vinyl.
Okay, yeah, I was just going to ask you about that. So vinyl is hip again, right?
That's what they,
Collectors are,
that's what they
what do you
tell me.
think about that?
Well, they say it has a warmer sound.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. After all these years playing in very loud rock and roll bands, I don't know if my ears can detect the difference.
Yeah.
but
Hey,
yeah, a lot of people are into vinyl, and the
hey,
record
let's
looks
get
great.
let's give our listeners another listen to another track. And you were talking about the trauma that you went through, and obviously how that affected you, and so you wrote a song about that and other experiences you've had. And
Can I tell you a little?
sad song,
Yeah,
yeah,
can I tell a little story to set it up?
of course.
So I was on the phone one day talking to my keyboard player, and we were talking about the songs that he was going to play on. And I was letting him know, what I was looking for out of him on each song. And we got to this next song, Sad, Sad Song. And I said, now, Steve, this next one's a little bit different. It's not really a rock, it's not a rocker. It's a ballad, and it's kind of melancholy. As a matter of fact, it's called Sad, Sad Song. And he said, well, what's that about, Kevin? And I said, well, it's a song about regrets. And it's a song about all the times I've let down the people who I care about the most in my life. And it's about a song about ill fortune and all the mistakes and missteps that I've made in my life. And there was like a beat of silence. And Steve said, so it's a long song.
Well,
fair enough, Steve.
well, let's listen.
Sad, sad song.
Everything that I ever done was wrong. Too much pride and too little shame, and no one at all but myself to blame. I must have been born under some kind of bad sign. How else could you explain this life of mine? I learned about loss at a very young age. It made me bitter and I lashed out with rage. When offered salvation, I pushed and I shoved. Hurting everyone that I loved. Now my nights they are fretful and unbearably long. That's just how it goes when your life's a sad, sad song. A sad, sad song. A sad, sad song. That I'll leave after I'm gone. It's just another sad, sad song.
I will be transparent. Your publicity file gave me all these great questions to ask. Fortunately, I'm a talker, and I'm curious. I'm naturally curious. That's the way you want to be when you're a journalist. But there are some damn good questions on here, so I'm gonna ask you some of them. Okay. So, what kind of music do you listen to?
I listen to, I'm a fan of a lot of different genres of music. Obviously, I love rock and roll, but I love all kinds of rock and roll, going back to the 1950s. I love rhythm and blues. I love Delta blues and Chicago blues. I love old school, not the country they put out these days, which is basically pop music with an accent.
Ah.
I like old school country music, with soulful, guys like Hank Williams and
Oh yeah, Loretta Lynn.
Yeah, George Jones.
Oh yeah,
and all the
Patsy
outlaws.
Cline.
Yeah, and all the outlaws like Willie and Waylon and Johnny Cash. I love funk. I love music. I'm not heavily into classical music.
Yeah, how about jazz?
You know what? My brother represented the late Ramsey Lewis,
Oh, wow.
and more. I didn't grow up listening to much jazz, but lately I have been turned on to a lot of good jazz.
Yeah, well, of course, he represents Anne, who, is known as a
Yeah,
jazz singer and
yeah. Anne's
Great American. Do you like Great American Songbook? Do you like classic
yeah,
stuff?
Anne is an incredible singer, and
Yeah.
and she's so funny too. When I went to
Oh,
see her live, that I knew she. When I went to see her live, I knew she was a great singer already. I'd heard her album, but I had no idea how funny she was.
have you ever met her?
Yeah.
Oh, have you? Yeah. This is a good chance for me to put in a plug because she's coming here to Indianapolis to do a benefit, which your brother helped to arrange. And, on the side, I produce cabaret shows. And, it's an incubator for local artists. And she really believes and supports our mission. A couple of years ago, she came out to do a master class. And I'll tell you, her she sang live for this group of 10 students and maybe less than that, I can't remember, but it was a really special. She is there's a reason why she has the reputation that she has, and her sense of as a performer, as a showman. Are you a showman? Would you consider yourself a showman when you're up
Oh
there?
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, do you like to move around that stage?
I do.
Yeah,
You can't.
who are some of your rock influences?
Uh, I loved all the flamboyant frontmen growing up. You know, I loved Mick Jagger and Steven Tyler.
Iggy Pop?
I love Iggy Pop, David
Yeah. Well, you
Johansen.
said glam. I figured Iggy would be right up there. Yeah.
Love Iggy. Love. I was. Did you ever hear of Mark Bolan, T
Oh
Rex?
yeah. Uh-huh.
Love T Rex growing up. All the English glam bands, Mott the Hoople, David Bowie, T Rex. And then on
Yeah.
the American side, Iggy Pop and the New York Dolls, the Lou Reed. Um, those were
Did
my
you ever make during those years, did you ever make it to New York, to that famous club? What you would know the name of this club where a lot of those acts played. Famous down to the, yeah.
Texas, Kansas City,
Yeah, that and there's something
CBGBs.
B. Yeah, yeah, that one. I
Yeah,
went
we played
there.
CBGBs.
I went there back in the day and it was pretty cool. Yeah.
A lot of history there.
Yeah. Okay, so how about okay, so let's grab another one. What was the last album you purchased?
The last album I purchased was probably the latest Black Crowes album.
Okay, yeah. And okay. In your free time, what sort of hobbies or activities do you enjoy?
Well, my hobbies are kind of tied into my profession because I love listening and collecting music. And I'm writing all the time, and I love to read, and I like unusual. I like movies, independent films that are a little
Says
off.
here you like shopping for vintage clothes at
I
thrift
do.
shop.
I do very much.
Yeah, yeah. So you like to put things together, mismatch prints and whatever? I love that look. Okay, so what is your biggest guilty pleasure?
My biggest guilty pleasure.
Film, album, or other?
Well, I guess my biggest guilty pleasure is I collect. There's these Japanese films. There's a whole series of them. There's like 24 of them.
Wow.
Zatoichi, the blind swordsman, and he was a samurai in the like 19th century. Those samurai movies from that era are kind of equal to our Western cowboy
Milk.
Western movies.
Wow, that's kind of obscure.
And I've collected all 20. I think there's 24 of them. I've got them all now. It took me a few
Wow.
years. It took me a few years to find them all, but
Do you like visual art?
I do.
Yeah, what do you like? I'm looking at, I brought that up. Is that your album cover art behind you for our folks? This is for folks who are listening to this. You're sitting in front of this remarkable piece of art. Tell me about it.
That's my album cover. I have a dear friend that lives here in St. Petersburg, Adam Turkel. He's a fantastic artist, and he's a rock and roll artist. He's a musician as well. It's kind of a renaissance man, and he did the album cover, and the that's
So is it red or orange, red orange,
that's
or what?
red and black, and then that portrait of me was done from a photo that my girls took.
Yeah. And of course with the red vinyl, it's quite a package, huh?
Yeah, I like.
Don't you love the fact that you're giving a lot of with the new development with the reemergence of album, you're giving a lot of jobs to a lot of artists, a lot of visual artists, right? It's back in vogue.
It's great.
Yeah. So again, tell me about the release party.
So that's the day that the album drops, and we're having a concert that night here in St. Petersburg, and we're playing the entire album and maybe a few other surprises. And if anybody who sees this lives within driving distance, or I've got friends who are actually flying down from New York to see it. So, um, if you're in the area, come down because it's going to be a gas.
Yeah. Hey, are you going to be doing any touring to promote this?
Well, I won't say no, but when I started with my first record deal, when I really started doing heavy touring, I was in my mid 20s. And when you're in your mid 20s and you have to sleep in crummy motels and eat crummy food on the road, it's not that big a deal when you're in your 20s.
Not very glamorous, huh?
Uh, well,
Not
by
very
the time
glamorous.
you reach my age that I'm at now, all those indignities of the road are a little harder to a little harder to stomach. So
Yeah.
I'm not really interested in going out there and being a road warrior anymore, but my brother's looking into some festivals and that type of thing.
Yeah. Well, our listeners, I have listeners, as I said before, all over the place. So what would you say to any like promoter listening to this?
I would say to contact Steel Management, my
There you go.
friend Steel, and
I told your brother this is basically going to be a commercial for you, so go for it.
because I never say never. So yeah, contact Steel
Yeah.
Management.
For people who want to discover your music, is there stuff all over the internet?
There
Like
is.
these days, if you Google, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff out there, right?
Yeah.
And
You know,
you're an example of the old stuff too, right?
yeah, and you can go on Spotify and listen to all my old songs, or you can go on YouTube and see some videos, or listen to all my songs from Rock's Gang and the Mojo Grooves.
Yeah.
And after the 27th, you'll be able to hear all my new album.
So, are you working on anything in the future you've started working on already?
I'll tell you, in making this album, it got the creative juices flowing again, and
Yeah.
already got 5 songs that are kind of in the can that can that
Really?
can,
Yeah. Okay. So, how do you guys work? Do you write the lyrics and then send them on to your partner, or how's that go? Do you do it both ways?
I, I write it. I write the lyric. When I write lyrics, I always have a
Of course,
melody.
you're the songwriter, so you write everything. Okay, got
Yeah,
it.
I
Yeah.
write everything, but not to take anything away from Billy. He's such a fantastic guitar player that the embellishments that he puts on, there's little music nuances that I would have never thought of
Uh-huh.
that Billy adds to the songs that
Has he ever written any music and let you listen to it and say, "Hey, put some lyrics on this"? Has that ever happened?
not yet.
Okay.
this partnership is pretty new, and
Yeah.
it's centered around these songs, this album that I
Yeah.
we're discussing. But who knows in the future? Because we had such a great time putting together this album that I wouldn't rule out anything in the future.
Yeah, okay. So you've got stuff that you're working on for the future. So it sounds like this album definitely is rejuvenating you, right?
I would say so.
Yeah. Okay, so listen, I always like to, for any young people who are listening to this show, I always like to inspire them with the performers that I speak with regarding, is there anything that you want to offer in terms of your experience or advice to young people who want to pursue a life of art like you have?
I would say that especially in this day and age when, I mean, there's kids who, with the technology at their disposal these days, you can make an album in your bedroom, you know? And I would say that if you have a clear vision for your music, to stick to it and not to let other people stand in your way, not to let other people interfere with your vision for your music. That's the most important thing. Be true to yourself.
That reminds me of there are a lot of performers who, like Bruce Springsteen, that movie that came out, it's based on that album he did, and he wrote some of it in a hotel or his bedroom.
Uh,
And so every kid has got a bedroom, that's the place where they feel safe and uh so that's where it starts, doesn't it? Did you start that when you were a young man in your bedroom?
oh
Start
yeah,
writing songs and that sort of thing?
I did, and I was bouncing off the walls of my bedroom playing air guitar. I had all my I had all my lead singer moves down before I was ever stood on a stage.
Yeah. What's it like? Describe for me how it feels to be on that stage. Yeah, describe how that
It's a huge
describe that.
it's a huge rush of energy. You feed off the audience, and there's no feeling like it that I've come by. And
Hmm.
I've experimented with a lot.
It's often described as that, the energy. What is that energy that you speak of from an audience? And as you know, entertainers always tell you audiences are different. Each
Well, for
performance
me,
is unique.
I can only speak for myself, but for me, to stand on the stage and deliver your art that it's come from your mind. It's your statement, it's your creativity, and to see people react to it, and especially in the form of rock and roll where there's just so much energy just in the music anyways, and the
Sure.
exchange of the energy from the artist to the audience and then back, there's nothing like it. It's just a rush.
Have you experienced people singing your lyrics back to you
Oh yeah,
or singing along? How does that feel?
it's it's uh it's like an honor. I've had bands that covered some of my songs,
Yeah.
and I mean, what an honor. To put something out there into the world and see people react positively.
Yeah. What was it like early in your career when you were in your car? Do you remember the first time you heard one of your songs playing on the car radio and what that felt like?
I do. There's nothing like it.
Tell me about it. Where was it and
Like
when?
I'd been dreaming of it for years before it happened, So for that dream to become a reality, it was like, it's something like you see in the movies, Um, to hear,
And these days, isn't it cool when you can, like, the cars all have these, fancy computer dashboards where you're driving along, your song comes on, you look on and you see your name in your car. I mean, isn't that wild?
see the album cover. It's
Yeah.
Well, it is wild. for a kid
Yeah,
for a kid who
yeah.
started out listening to a transistor radio.
And yeah, you hear performers all the time. And how else do you describe what people talk about? Well, how does it feel to be here at the Grammys, or how does it feel? I mean, what I just said, the simple thing like being in your car and hearing the radio. They all say, well, it's surreal. It's always the same, but there's no other word that describes it more than that. Would you agree? Surreal.
It is because it's something that most people, like I said, have dreamed about for years and worked towards and strove for, and you know you still there's always a certain amount of, no matter how confident you are, no matter how good you think you are, like we all have a little self-doubt, and
Mhm.
and when some and to be recognized, you know and to hear, it's crazy. It's just, you think it was impossible and it's happening, and it's like, it's how many people have dreams like that, big dreams like that fulfilled.
Kevin, did your mom influence you and your brother to dream big by any chance, or where did that come from?
um I had a very loving, despite the outcome, despite the what happened, my early years, up until the time that my mother did die, I
What was her name? I'd like to know her name.
her name was Marlene Steele.
Hmm.
She was not a musician, but there was always music playing in our house. And I grew up always listening to music. My Italian grandfather tells me that he took me to an Italian festival one time, and there was like a band on a stage playing Italian music, and he had me on his shoulders, and he put me over his head and on so that I was standing on the stage. He said I turned around to the audience and started acting like I was conducting the band.
Uh,
And so I think this tells two things about me that came into play late in my later life, was that, one, my love for music, and two, what a ham I was from the time from the time I was just a little kid. And I don't know. I can't remember when I didn't want to be
what kind of music did your mom listen to?
well, that was like in the 60s, and
Okay.
there was a lot of musicals and stuff soundtracks to musicals being played.
Oh, so you like musical theater?
Yeah.
Are you into musical theater at all?
I can't say that.
Okay.
I can't say that I am really.
Okay. Well, there are a lot of rock musicals. You ever thought about doing one?
Well, if you're talking about rock musicals, sure. No, I've
Yeah.
never thought of doing one, but I am a fan of some rock musicals.
Which
Tommy,
ones? Which ones?
love Tommy by The
Of
Who.
course. Yeah.
Um, when I was younger, I had black curly hair, and everybody told me I looked like Tim Curry in Rocky Horror Picture Show.
You actually do, I must say.
In my glam rock days, I favored
Yeah.
it more. But
Yeah, for our listeners, I want to point out that you have aviators on, or they look like aviators, and you've got long hair down to your shoulders, and you're wearing a leopard outfit there, leopard print. Are you into leopard print?
love it, love it.
Hey, I think it's just there are all kinds of ways that you can end up being a survivor, and you clearly are a survivor. And what do you say? What do you say to those out there who've experienced trauma at all degrees? What would you say to them to give them hope and to inspire them?
I say,
And based on your experience, well, you found art, of course, but what would you say generally about, living your life post-trauma?
um, I don't mean to be flippant by saying this. I know it's a lot easier said than done, but you can't give into it, and you can't wallow in it, in self-pity. You got to just you got to make the best of things, and you got to find a way to shine. You got to
Mhm.
find a way to make your, even if it's born out of tough circumstances, you got to find a way to get out there and have your voice heard, and to just live a good, fulfilling life.
Well, earlier you said that one of your primary messages is to give hope, and I think you convey that in this chat that we've had, and I really admire that. So again, thank you so much for spending some time with me, and we're going to close with another one of your tracks. Why don't you set it up? It's called Fingers Crossed.
Okay, Fingers Crossed is the country song. I told you it's kind of tongue in cheek. Fingers Crossed is about a lion lover
Mm-hmm.
who, every time he told his girl that he loved her, he had his fingers crossed behind his back.
Yeah, when I listened to it, it was clear and it had a country western feel to it, and I really enjoyed it a lot. So I'm looking forward to hearing everything. And again, I'm gonna follow your career and see how things turn out for you. And I wish you the very best.
Thank you, Tom. I enjoyed talking to you.
Okay, well, you take care, and I'll see you up the road, hopefully.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay.
When I told you that I loved you, and I told you that I'd stay, and I said I'd never leave you, stand by you come what may, that we'd always be together, no matter what the cost. Well, I guess the joke was on you, girl, 'cause I had my fingers crossed.
Our thanks go out to our media sponsor, Urban Times. Urban Times is a monthly news magazine which serves as the official newsletter for 15 Indianapolis neighborhoods, offering news about development, arts and entertainment, and from the business community. Thank you for joining me on the aisle. Please subscribe to my podcast, and if you want to hear previous episodes, find them on the All Indiana Podcast Network, or listen to them wherever you get your podcasts. This is Tom Alvarez.
Who will take center stage on the podcast next? Your seat on the aisle with Tom Alvarez awaits. Follow Tom on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, and make sure to visit tomalvarez.studio. Watch Tom every other Thursday on Lifestyle Live on Wish TV, and make sure to listen every week here on the All Indiana Podcast Network.